And Michael, you brought some objects here to me. What did you bring it all for us to have a look at?
I brought a pot or a skillet, as we call it, and this was supposed to be in Lord and Ellie's trap going to church in Silvermines. And when he came up from the big house and came out to the green gates on the Silvermines Dollar Road, and when he straightened up on the straight, the shots were fired. And this pot was supposed to be in the trap. And my grandfather came on the scene, and he seen the pot. And Lord and Ellie was supposed to have said to him, take it away out of the way. Michael Quinlan was his name as well. And he said, take the pot away, Michael, because I think there was something in it for the horse, like probably food. And grandfather caught the pot, and he turned it in over the wall, Kilby. And after when he was working there, he picked up the pot and took it home. And he saw the initials on it, and he seen the bullet hole, the bullet wound on the pot. And that was that morning, sometime 1922. And he said it to Lord and Ellie after. And he told Lord and Ellie about having the pot. And he says, Asher Mikey, he says, you'll mind it or look after it. But my father trained as a gamekeeper in Kilby, and he used to feed the dogs over that, his own dogs at home after that. So that's supposed to be the history of it anyway. And we never looked at it. I used to use it for getting out mail out of a barrel for the cattle or things like that. But other than that, that's the most of the history I have about it. That it was fired at, and that was a bullet hole, a bullet wound, and the initials on it are SW, and I don't know who they are or where they're from.
And there was no one killed that day?
No, there was no one killed that day. As John said, Flannery said, the initial was not to shoot Lord and Ellie, it was just to frighten to get him out of the land, because they had something like 18,000 acres. Now, I'm not fully sure, but I know that they had that amount was mentioned anyway in the area. And my grandfather, we were tenant farmers at that time there, 1922.
When was the house burnt down?
In 1922. It was supposed to be a beautiful house. Now, we had a foreship at that home. It was burnt in 1922. And a couple of years ago, there now, it was rebuilt back to the original of what it was. That's what I'm told, of the plans. And it's supposed to have cost something like 52 million. And it was a Thurles man that owned Kilby at that stage, Tony Ryan of Ryanair.
You can remember as a chap playing with the Denellis?
Oh, I do. I played with Francis Denelli, and I cycled his little three-wheel bike at the time. We used to go up and down, as I said earlier on, up and down where the Scouting Bridge is, up the avenue, you know. And we all, as the Quinlans, I don't know why, but my grandfather always got on fantastic with Lord and Ellie, and my father as well. But they only always kept it as a kind of a friendship, nothing else, you know.
And you've got some objects on the table here that came from that house.
I have this mirror was supposed to be in one of the bedrooms that was in Kilby House the time it was burnt down. Now, it was my grandfather who was supposed to he got it. And it was at home in our place for years and years and years, and it was never used. Never used. Now, the plates were ornaments on the wall. They were hanging on the wall like pictures. And they were in the hallway. down on, supposed to be down on the hallway. But they said there was an awful lot of stuff taken, that the way bigger plates altogether. But those was the ones I heard my father saying, that them. And the objects was, this object here was supposed to be something like the top of the mirror, but way bigger over the bed. And this was supposed to probably fell off of it or something like that. And my grandfather picked it up, took it away. It's no good. Now those objects, there's an object here now, this thing now, I just remembered it like. He got that off of a jacket that was thrown out in Lord and Alice. The jacket was thrown for the dump, and he just took that off of it. And this one here came in a saucepan out of the kitchen. A lady that lived almost next door to me was a woman called Mrs. Gleason. She was a Waterford woman. She married John Gleason in Boherby, and I think she was a cook in the kitchen. And that saucepan came to Gleason's in Boherby. And Gleason's originally, they're all diminished now, like, you know, they're all dead and gone. But when we were young, we got that saucepan down. We used to be playing what they call cubby at that time. And the saucepan was kicked and bent and broken. It was like aluminium, or good tin anyway. And I took that off of it. And I tried since to see could I locate where that came from, but it was made in Wolverhampton. But the company is supposed to be dissolved for years and years and years after that, like.
And all the tenants on the farm, on that land, what happened to them after?
Well, you see, when the place was burnt down in 1922, my father often said to me, my father was born in 1911, I think it is. Yeah, 1911. And in March 1911, and like he'd be only 11 at that stage, like. But he can remember people there that had to immigrate. There were 60 people or something like that working in Kilby at that stage, which is an awful amount of people in a small area, and they have nothing, you know. And he said, the morning after being burnt, there was only about half a dozen people working in, because there was nothing there, and the cattle were stole off the land, and everything in it was stole off the land. You know, the Nelly wasn't there, 1922, until burned down. He was supposed to be out in India or out somewhere. He was an army man, like. But other than that now, I haven't a lot more information on it. I'm getting emotional from reading the book now, because what my father and grandfather told me, and even my mother. My mother only died 4.5 years ago. She was 95.5. But she'd talk more about it than because her aunts, the Colemans from Traverstown in Dalla, they knew more about it at that stage as well, like, you know. And she learned more, I suppose, from them, like, and heard more. Deacon at night time.
And are you happy that you managed to save these and keep these up?
Well, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to keep the tradition going. And I'm a member of the Silver Mines Historical Society, where I was reared. And I'm gone out of it about 55 years altogether. But I'll be buried in Kilmore. I don't know where my wife will be buried, but I'll be buried in Kilmore anyway. So, and I have 6 kids, 4 boys and 2 girls. And they're all working. They all have good jobs. So, and a lot of them are very interested in the mines. It's like, you know, so it's going back to the old heritage again. Blood is thicker than water. It's like when the mines, I hurled with Shannon Rovers. I hurled in London, but I hurled with Shannon Rovers, and I could never bear to see them playing the silver mines because I wouldn't shout for either side, like I couldn't. So now that's another part, like, you know. But that's me and Kilby.
You've come here today and you've got a load of stuff at this table for me folks. What do you have at all? What's your connection to these objects, both of you?
The connection to these objects is my father was in the 1916 onwards. He came in 1917 and he was in the War of Independence. And there's a lot of stuff I have kept at home from my time and minded it. So it's all displayed here in front of us as much as we can.
And what was the man's name?
Andy Moloney, at Springfield, Clare and Clonmel.
And Gertie, you did a load of research on Andy.
I did. I didn't know the man because he died in 1979, but COVID, I suppose, when it came in that March, it opened a window for me because I was unable to work, so I actually put all this, I did a booklet on my father-in-law. We had a lot of bits and pieces at home. We've put them all together. He was born in 1899 and he was 60 years of age when Martin was born.
That's right.
So he fought in the War of Independence and he fought in the Civil War. We did a lot of research. We spoke to an awful lot of historians. We had a lot of data at home but didn't really know what it was or what it meant or where it came from. So yeah, we gathered the information and then we put this booklet together, which is all factual. He was going to school in Rockwell College, and that was rumoured, well, hadn't he gone to school or did he go to school? So we found that out initially from the census, and then from there we went to Rockwell College, and his photograph was on the wall in Rockwell College as a student, and also won the Rock Cup in 1916. So it all started really with Rockwell College. And then I went to a historian in Cashel, Bob O'Dwyer, I think was his name.
That's right.
With all this paraphernalia here, and he was able to identify Martin's dad in one of the pictures. So actually his name appears in quite a few books. So I got very excited with all this information, but I suppose I had 3 small children, and it was only then when COVID came that I actually put all the data together, and it was only at that stage that the military archives released the information. So sure, we thought we'd won the lotto when we got his statement and everything. So yeah, these are his medals here. This medal was for active service. You can tell by this bar here and the writing across. This medal was given then for the commemoration 50 years. And this is another medal of his with no ribbon on it, which was also given for service. Bar across this medal here means actually that he fought. He was in combat. If it didn't have the bar, you were in other service, but you didn't actually fight. So Martin, if you want to talk to Michael then about the gun.
Yeah, this gun was found in a trunk which my mother kept for years, and she had patterns of her dresses in, and she had everything. She thrown everything into it, along with this gun. And this gun was rusty. It was obviously out in the weather for a while before it came into the house, and then I came on it at a young age. And so I went about trying to mind it the best I could. And then there was a scare one time at the border Fox. Was going around Tipperary, and of course everyone was telling me I'm due something in your house and you have to get rid of it. So I went out and hid it in a rabbit burrow. But weeks had passed and I forgot what rabbit burrow I hid it in. So it took me a long time to find it. So I found it again, but it was more rusty. So I cleaned it up the best I could, and then I got it decommissioned, which you see is decommissioned there, and obviously blocked up, and the pin is cut up on it, and so may never probably used again. It's a Wembley 45, and that's it. It's fairly good condition, but I'm sure there's other ones in better condition, but that's what we have at the moment anyway. And then obviously what I have as well is a medal, which is my niece have a medal that was made out of a half a crown, and he flattened it flat, and he printed it all with a nail, seemingly, that's what I'm told.
Nail and hammer,
a nail and
wasn't it?
hammer, yes, a nail and hammer, and he made it out. He made it that's the back and front of it. I don't know the shape, but that is actually the back and front of it. There's one medal, and this was in 1922 when he was jailed, and he was caught with other his companions, and they were caught around Rose Green somewhere, and they were brought away, and that's mostly what I have now at the moment, but there's other stuff there as well.
And where was he imprisoned?
We are still trying to find out at the moment. That's why we're probably here, and we're still trying to find out a bit more, because only now things are starting to come out about the whole scenario.
Yeah, he was in prison from 1922 to 1924. So we have exhausted a lot of avenues, but we're still not getting the information. So we spoke to John here today, and he's might be able to point us in the right direction. But what was interesting about the research that we were doing was the way everything matched up. We have Dan Breen's witness statement here. We printed that off the internet, and he speaks about Martin's dad on the statement. And then we have the statement of the Captain Paddy Ahern, who was a neighbour of Martin's dad.
Yes.
And he mentions Martin's dad on his statement. And then on Martin's dad's statements, he's talking about Dan Breen and Paddy Ahern. So the whole thing absolutely all knitted together for
Yeah,
us.
starting to come together.
We have some pictures as well, which were hanging on the wall, and still hang on the wall in the house in Talmucca.
Now these were all pictures that were in what we call in them times a parlour. Everyone called it a sitting room now. We were always told it was a parlour. It was only open for mess. You used to have mess once a year. Probably I was avoiding it anyway when I was my age. But this is obviously Dennis Lacey. And this is a lovely picture. This is always there. But this was rolled up in a roll. It wasn't hanging. It was just in a roll. And so we got it, my wife, Gertie, got it into a frame.
Yeah, your niece did it for your Breda, didn't she?
And Breda
Yeah.
Hoolan is on them now. And so it was between them they got it all done. And this what we have now is this picture of Lacey.
And this is just 1916 Rising, the GPO in Dublin, another picture that again Breda got this framed, and she did all that work for us, for which we were very grateful.
Yeah. This also was in a roll, rolled up and put into the famous cupboard, we used to call it then, and it was left in a drawer, and the drawer was even so, it was never opened, it was even seized. I opened it, and that cabinet actually is above now in Dora Castle, the cabinet of the house, of our house now.
But that was in. I suppose a lot of the information we found too came from a trunk in Martin's home place, where we still live now today.
Again, this is the one now that got a bit damp and maybe a few mice stuck on it. In that time, as you can see here, they did a bit of chewing. And this is the one, and here he is here, we're pointed out, as Gertie was pointing out, he's here.
Yeah, the historian Bobbin Cashel identified him there for us. And a lot of the information actually was in your mum's trunk.
Yes.
It's referred to in the book there that I wrote.
Yes.
There was this very big trunk at home, belonged to Martin's mum. And when I got married to Martin, I didn't know what was in this trunk, and I say I didn't touch it maybe for a lot of time because it wasn't, I felt it personal, but we went through it and we found a lot of information with regard to Martin's dad. That's where the medals were, and the gun was there, plus a lot of different certificates and that. So I suppose Nellie, Martin's mother, has to get the credit for saving all this information.
As much as she could, yeah.
But when we opened the trunk, it was
Yeah,
a gift really that
yeah.
we hadn't discarded it or nobody else had.
And Martin, can I ask you a question as well? No, growing up, did your father or mother talk about this, or was it put away when you were growing up? It was a hidden a bit.
It was possibly, I tried to get a bit of information out of him, but he wasn't coming forth with it. He was very tight-lipped about it. He might say a little bit when he was on his battle of Paddy. He might say a little bit of it, all right, but you didn't understand what he was saying. And then again, you must take, like he died when I was 19, and I was probably asking him questions when I was 12, and he was probably saying to me, look, you don't need to know what your age, and listen, child, go away. And he didn't know that, but he often said to me that he slept in straw with Dave. I often had him come out of that, and he used to have wicked nightmares at night time because I often had him roaring and shouting, and I can imagine now I know really why. And there was often things he come out like I slept in straw, and the one thing he always said, Dick Mulcahy used to pay for all. Whatever he meant by that, I don't know. Whatever Dick Mulcahy paid for, I don't know, but anyway. Of course, Richard Mulcahy was obviously prominent, and but things like that. Yeah, he never really spoke about it, and it was a pity, really, that we didn't get the information out of him. But maybe there was things he didn't want to say. There was obviously in that time there was cousin against cousin, brothers against brothers, as we know now, as I knew in later years, which I didn't know when I was younger, obviously, and things that we took for granted, maybe. But yeah, he went through a bit of hell, I suppose.